Hello and welcome to the show. I'm Puneet Wadhwa. Today we have Shankar Sharma, founder GQuant Investech, with us on the show today. Hi, Shankar, and welcome.
Thanks, Puneet.
Shankar, what in your opinion has the budget done for the markets and investors this time around?
I think what it has done is a fantastic thing. It has not given us any problems on the taxation front, which is what the big apprehension was. There was a lot of noise, talk that they will either increase the holding period for getting LTCG benefits or increase the rates, make it on par with other assets and all that. Thankfully, and I say thankfully because you need to encourage people to come out of traditional saving methods like gold and real estate in India into equity markets. We need that. And the way you create a flow from old assets into new asset classes is by incentivizing people. So this was a very, very absurd notion that everything should be equal. No, everything cannot be equal. We need to create incentives for monies to flow. Like for software industry, we gave them a tax holiday for like a long time. Why? Because we needed the software industry to prosper. Other industries were getting taxed at 40%. Software industry had a tax-free life for, I think, a good 15 years. Same way in trying to direct savings, we have to give incentives to people to direct their savings into the least taxed areas. So I think sensibly the government has avoided tinkering with the tax rates. I think that was a big positive. Other than that, there are only positives in the budget. I did not see any negative at all.
Would you like to highlight a 3 or 4 positives for us?
Well, capex increase, a third, that is very, very positive. On the taxation, on the personal taxation front for the lower income as well as the middle class, there appears to be, I have to study it more, appears to be a very, very decent lowering of the tax rates. Even for the rich, I do believe the numbers have come down into the 30s instead of it being in the 40s. So, I mean, overall, I think it has just been a very pleasant experience, this budget. It was a short budget speech. It was, again, a thankful, we are very thankful. So all of it, we can just take away only positives. To the best of my recollection, there were no negatives.
So, on a lighter note, are you happy that the speech was short or the measures were good, or both?
I think both. And the same measure being announced over 3 hours, as we have seen in some of the previous budgets, and versus 1.5 hours, much, much more palatable.
But don't you think that these measures, to some extent, are a bit populist? I mean, do you think that the budget was a please-all budget, so to say?
I don't think the budget was populist. And by the way, even if it is called populist, I don't see what is the problem in being populistic, as long as you manage the overall populism within limits. Because we are a democracy. In a democracy, we can't just leave everything to market forces. We have to take care of the poor also. And also remember one thing, the government left out actually did the populist part before by the food grain scheme. Okay, that is the most populist thing we have seen from this government, to the best of my memory, in the last 6-7 years. It did that prior to the budget itself. So it kept the budget more business-like, more focused on what the market wants to hear. And the populist part they actually did before the budget. So there is populism, but not in the budget itself.
Markets, then you think will be happy with the estimates on fiscal deficit, government borrowing, GDP growth, etc., or should one take them with a pinch of salt, given how the economic setup will shape up in 23?
See, in India, everything has to be taken with a pinch of salt. And remember one simple thing, that the GDP growth estimate seems reasonable at first glance, but it may turn out to be, even, I don't think the finance minister is lying or making it up. I think she's being very realistic. But ultimately, still a projection, it's still a forecast, and many things can happen in the interim which can change things. And one of the biggest factors that can lower our GDP growth numbers in the 23-24 year is going to be our pressure on exports, because I don't see how you're going to get any export growth worth mentioning, because your big buyers of exports, Europe and US, are in some form of recession. And, if they don't buy, you don't grow on, your exports. So therefore, your net exports becomes a drag. And therefore, I think the GDP estimate, while being realistic today, may find some challenges as we go a quarter or two down the road.
Okay. So what is the one defining characteristic, according to you, that makes this budget stand out as compared to the previous ones announced by this government, at least in this tenure?
I think for a change, the middle class has got a look in. Earlier, it was only the poor or the rich, in a good or a bad way, you were getting attention. I think they have done something with the middle class. You can call it populist also, because the government needs the support of the middle class for the 24 elections. I think, and of course, the other thing here is that there's a lot of thrust on the newer age things like, hydrogen and environment and all that, which is not a departure, but I just like to hear that the government is also looking at those aspects rather than just focused on roti, kapda, and makan.
So how are you approaching the equity market in this backdrop?
For me, nothing has changed. I mean, the budget, in any case, I don't look at the budget and make any decisions, because a lot of things need to be understood. You have to talk to the companies affected, either in a good way or in a bad way. So I make no decisions on budget day as to what I'm going to do in the equity markets. These things take time to absorb and decide. I mean, my strategy still remains very, very bottom up. I think India is a fantastic bottom up market. It's the best market by far for bottom up stock picking, and I'm sticking to what I like best.
One last question as regards the budget. You had given a rating of 12 on 10 before the budget in terms of your expectations. Would you like to change that? Probably a 15 or an 8?
Yes. I'm making it a 15.
And where has this 3-point surge come from? What has contributed to that?
I think the non-tinkering with the LTCG.
Thanks, Shankar, so much for your time. We hope to see you soon.
Sure. Thank you.
If you like this video, share it and subscribe to Business Standard. For more news, views and insights, log on to www.business-standard.com. Do also follow us on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Telegram and LinkedIn.